Hello, my friends. Welcome to a Lumen Podcast. This time we have a tremendous entrepreneur from the Netherlands, Eduard Brink. Edward is a vibrant soul born in the Netherlands and currently thriving in the picturesque town of Zeist. He tied the knot with the love of his wife, Evelyn, in 2001 and has been blessed with wonderful children too, Julia and Peter, that are now pursuing their dreams at the university. His journey in the business began early. He's been an entrepreneur by heart and has a lot of experience that he's going to be sharing with us. And also he has different experience on regarding, what this road of life is, how to ride it, how to be mindful, being balanced. And I think we're going to get a lot of value today from him. He is a friend whom I met in the Entrepreneurs Organization. This organization that I've shared with you is tremendous because it raises the trust in communities and worldwide. So, my dear Edward, welcome. Oh, and by the way, you're a podcaster as well. Much to learn from your experience being a podcaster. Your Love Not Fear podcast has, been viewed by thousands, if not millions. And very happy to have you here today, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Kini. And you didn't mention one thing that we share. We share a deep love for light. You even named your company Lumen.com.
That's
and
true.
I basically dedicated my life since I have a business in lighting for 25 years now.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. They say that darkness is the absence of light. Have you heard
It's,
that
it's
one?
yeah, I heard many. And don't get me started on the topic of lighting, because then it will be a boring episode for anybody who's looking to gain some other knowledge. So yeah, it's
It is
truly a
tremendous.
very interesting interesting topic. I love lighting. Was intrigued by it. Even from a very early age. I have pictures that I took as a 9 or 10-year-old with experimenting with a camera, that I took little pictures of a little marble statue, and I had this studio lamp that I placed in different angles to see what shadow it would cast. So when
Oh
I found
wow.
these again, and I said, okay, hey, this is where the roots for lighting might have started. Yeah.
Very nice. So you're passionate about lightning. That's interesting. For sure, it started at a very early age. You probably see movies from a different angle altogether. Going through life, seeing light and having a
And
relationship with it. Are you a photographer also?
no, but many people that are into light have a keen eye for photography. I always see photography as my one passion that I might have yet to explore, or the missed one. I took a turn at one point in my life, and I started to learn about wine, and didn't know where the exit was, so I kept on learning about wine. But wine could easily be replaced by photography, and it might have been a better choice
And
in the
in
end.
this
But
life as
that's a whole
well.
different story. Yeah. Now,
So,
so
my
actually,
friend, tell me a little bit about how this entrepreneurial road started for you. Yeah, you mentioned that you started at a very early age.
yeah.
Happy to hear your
Well,
experience
for
about it.
me, it's kind of atypical, because my father was an entrepreneur. He died 17 years ago, and he could be in the dictionary next to the word entrepreneur. He started together with his brothers. He started 4 companies, and really some of them built it up to be quite sizable. And I was number 4. I was the 4th kid in the family. And basically, if you were not an entrepreneur, in the eyes of my family, you would be a loser. So
Wow.
I don't think it's a good start for a kid not to have all the options on the table. But by me being number 4, of course, I had to pursue my own path, and this is the entrepreneurial life, because it brought so much to my father and my older siblings as well. So
So the four of you are entrepreneurs,
at one
plus your
point,
father.
all of us were. Yes, my sister stopped her business, and at one point, one of my brothers stopped working for himself, but built a big company from the ground up under the wings of another company. So he is very entrepreneurial, but not an entrepreneur anymore after being an entrepreneur for about 15 years. So yes, it didn't feel that much as a choice, and I wouldn't recommend anybody to push their children straight into the entrepreneurship, because I think I paid for a number of valuable lessons myself. So I think in hindsight, I might be better off learning some skills and to get a sense of what is normal, and getting into the working rhythm in a larger company. But
So
let me go
sometimes,
back before that, because I have
yeah.
an entrepreneurial spirit, because I sold my internship to two companies. I decided, hey, if I'm going to do an internship and I want to do it, I want to do it in China, I might as well ask money. So I I did two researches together with a friend, and we sold those, and that enabled us to travel through China. We had 4-day work weeks, and the 3-day weekends we would travel to all
Wow.
parts of China. And in the end, when I got back, I was able to buy a surfboard and a new stereo. So skis skis and a new stereo. So yes, I think I'm quite entrepreneurial.
Very nice.
Yeah,
You made your plan and you executed.
yeah, yeah.
So tell me, what was your first formal business?
My first formal business is I think is the lighting business I'm still in. That started out because one of my brothers bought a company, a small lighting company, and I helped him out in figuring out suppliers and to draw up a business plan, because he was still not he was still living in England, and that took a bit longer for him to move back to the Netherlands. So I got heavily involved in this tiny business. 3 people were working there. And over Christmas dinner, we decided that I was going to buy the company, and he was not going to be involved anymore, because 2 academics on such a small effort, it didn't really make sense at the time. So there I was, I think it was days later, from me advising him not to buy the company at all, to get out of it while he still could. And a couple of days later, I was so obsessed about building a dream that I took the load on my shoulders and started working from there. Then the business has gone through different phases. It started
Before
out as
that, were you guys partners in it?
no, I was just on the payroll.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was in the same time. I just graduated, and I was looking for a job, and I found one as a how do you call it, management trainee for an international trading company. And I don't know what happened, what got onto me, but I landed this job, and 2 days before starting the job, I called them and said, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to build my own business. So yes, I landed the job that seemed very well. So it was my own choice, not to become an entrepreneur by myself, because I had this job where I would be under the wings of a large multinational company, sending me to different places in the world, and I decided not to do it and be stubborn, and to build a lighting company. And that went from a wholesale to retail to e-tail to wholesale, and then adding a studio. I think I collected all the cards in lighting. I think I have seen every station in the last 25 years. And maybe that's the fact that I'm on your show doesn't have to be about this journey in lighting. It's what happens if you're 20 years down the road, and you change as a person, and your perspective change, and you come to terms that you have so many days on this planet, and what is actually that you want to do, and what is keeping you from doing what you like. So my podcast is about exploring around that, and the podcast is called Love Not Fear. And it's a big exploration about this topic. Is what is important in life, and what's keeping you from doing what's important, what's feeling important. And I found out that it's mostly driven out of fear. We want things not to happen, but we can go there later, because that's a whole.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's very philosophical, and I'm curious if something happened to you that made you, come to mind or be more aware of the time you have on Earth and how time is moving. And normally
I
for me, it's been experiences like an accident or something that really, impactful happened that made me become aware and think about
Yeah,
what is
I
it all
can I can
about?
pin it I can pin it down to one exact moment. I attended the an entrepreneurs organization university in San Francisco, and the topic was how do you call it? I'm blanking. Singularity,
Oh yeah,
singularity. So it was
Singularity
Singularity
University.
University, and so you basically get a glimpse into the future, right? And I was sitting there, and this tremendously good speaker, she had a talk about how the world is going to change, and I was sitting there looking at one image about the things that clients want more of and need more of, and things they need less of. So I was looking at that and said, if I don't change drastically, my business is going to be obsolete in less than 10 years. So from that point on, I knew I had to change drastically, and I made some drastic changes based on that. And one of them was to not focus on e-commerce to residential, to private people. That has to do with the laws in the Netherlands, where you can easily return stuff. So there you would have, people would buy 3 products in 3 different colors, with zero intent to keep 3, at least send back 2, but mostly they would send back all 3, because then when they know they like something, they start searching for the best price, and that could be a German competitor. So my warehouse was filling up like crazy, 10,000 euros per month in returns that are very hard to sell if you're in high-end lighting, which is a very specialistic product.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, this is not sustainable, not from a not very environmentally friendly as well, but not I couldn't keep it up. So I decided to charge a hefty charge under orders under 250 euros, and that cost me $1 million bucks in turnover the next year. So this was a trigger of all kinds of things. Okay, what are we going to do with the time? Where's the focus going to be? And not only did I focus on different things in my business, but I also allowed myself to be more exploring what else is out there. After being 23 years, 20 years in a row working on one business, I thought there's more in life. So I decided to give myself. Sorry. Now I decided to give myself more slack to explore about what it is to be not only an entrepreneur, but also be a human with the possibilities we have. I am very much intrigued in the world we live in right now. AI is changing everything. I'm tremendously interested in AI and how that's going to shape the future. So, yeah, I'm allowing myself to not work 60, 70 hours like I did just on lighting. I now put a lot of effort in things I love, like the podcast, like Entrepreneurs Organization, and I run a platform around AI called IPO. All of you subscribe, ipo.com.
ipo.com. So let me come back to where you were talking about seeing a challenge in your business, seeing a bottleneck. And this is probably a bottleneck that a lot of people that are in your business, your competitors, are having. That is, people returning products and just picking 3 colors so that they can see which one, looks better, and then not even buying one, but sending back the 3, just getting a cheaper. So you saw that bottleneck and you decided to innovate, and that innovation, which was putting a price to the returns, for things that are under 250, had a complete effect in your turnover. There was a huge innovation for you. But you also talked about different innovations because you were first a wholesaler and then you became retailer. And I guess these were innovations also, that where you said,
Yes.
I think that this is low hanging fruit. I could also do this, that this person is doing. So I'm going to grow vertically. How has that experience been, and how has it affected your business?
Okay, back in 2000, I ran 2 companies. I had a website building company. We built websites, and I say we because it was a friend of ours that ran the lighting and the website. So when at that time you could sell a website to anybody, if you could just spell a URL, you can sell a website. So that was easy. Then it got harder. So I sold my shares in that company. I stepped out of the web design business, but I knew how to speak to developers. So knowing how a developer thinks and works, I was able to launch a website pretty soon. And I was the first website in the Netherlands selling lighting. And that was back in 2003. So I was an early adapter in 2003, and something funny happened. So at first, when I built an intranet for my 3 shops I had then, when the intranet was ready, I decided, I might as well put a chart, a cashier next to it, so people can buy as well. Why keep it for ourselves? So that's why very fast from an intranet, I made a website, and then something happened that was totally unexpected. I was expecting individuals to buy, but the interest came from architects and construction companies and said, I don't need 1, I need 27. Or I'm interested in this. And instead of asking for what they found on the website, they would sell me their list that they need to procure. And I would offer many more things that I found on that list. That's why we changed the focus on selling one-off pieces to individuals, to building long-term relationship with installation companies, and that is what 80% of my business is now. So we sell to large offices, hospitals, universities, schools, city houses, theaters, and we do since day one. Since I have quite an exclusive range of products that we sell, we do high-end individuals. So we do the high-end residential villas, and I love doing villas all over the world, because then culture comes into account and you have to think of all kinds of stuff. I have a funny story about doing international business. I had a client who moved from the Netherlands to Sint Maarten, and since I had an uncle living on Sint Maarten, I had been there once. So I talked to this client. We made a design for his new to be built villa, and before showing him anything, I told him, I know electricity is expensive, so we made a design that has a low energy threshold. I contacted the local wholesaler to see what kind of lamps were available, replacement lamps. So I didn't use anything that he couldn't replace locally. I knew that it was the humidity was a thing, so I didn't offer anything that could corrode really easily. And then I say, okay, I made special care for safety, because it's not quite safe. So your exterior needs to be well lit, taking safety into account. And there was another thing, anything that didn't mean having very specialized installation skills required. So before showing him anything, I already sold it. He was ready to buy whatever I showed him. So there was a very cool lesson. If you put attention to not what you sell, but what the person needs, and especially if that person doesn't know what he needs, and you tell him, then you get credit. And this is basically the base layer of what I do for my clients, because the installation companies that I sell to, the person that does the cost calculation has very little idea what he needs to calculate. So for them, it's just numbers, article codes, and what we specialize in is to take this bowl of soup of numbers and words and turn it into something that he understands. And we show him the dangers. If you do this, then you must also do that. And that's what gave us the benefit that we will be able to grow a crowd that some of the clients are now with us for 18 years. And nice. Yes, I use a lot of IT in that. I actually run my company based on a software that I wrote myself with some.
And you sold that software?
No. I tell you why. It's critical software. So if the system goes down, you have a problem. And I could not find anybody that wanted to sell and build, keep building on software that's company critical. So it's nice if you have a tool that you can use to send an email. If that goes down, you can fix it in a day. But anything that has to do with large liabilities, that is a problem. And I didn't do a lot of effort because it's mainly written for the lighting business, and I don't want my competitors to use this same software. But the funny thing is, I wrote it with a couple of very clever guys, and one of the guys and a couple of years later, he was one of the CTOs of Booking.com.
Oh,
And
wow.
I run into him occasionally. And I was reading through Harvard Business Review, and I saw an article on A/B testing. And apparently, this guy is the world expert on A/B testing, and he
Very
laid the
nice.
foundation of the software that I still run my company on. So that was quite a journey.
So tell me this, the software or the relevance of not going out is because do you manage the lightning of different places as well?
No,
Or
no.
it's
I mean,
more
it
e-commerce
is
like
contacts, financial data, product data,
okay,
logistical data. It's all
everything
in
goes
one.
on it.
So it's a
Yeah,
CRM ERP system.
very nice.
that we use also to feed the web shop, and the web shop runs on Magento. And Magento, we don't maintain Magento by hand. We made a feed that every night at 2 o'clock, I believe, data is refreshed. So it's up to par with our backend system. It's not that interesting. It was being crazy enough to being maybe schmuck enough to think that I could outperform the existing off-the-shelf software and just not seeing the dangers. And there were many red flags to abort this plan. I kept on going, and it was kind of the funner things. And I remember that was before I had kids. I remembered working so many hours on it because it was my passion as well.
Very nice. It's amazing that you get your hands into it, right? Like that house in San Martin, you thought, what is a logical side to it? What's the rationale? Humidity is going to be an issue. He's in an island. Islands are hard to import a lot of things. So you made it through and you decided to go for it. That's amazing. We use Odoo, I think, in my company, and we support it with which one is the other one that we use? I'm not sure, man. I should get more into it. Uh, how many people work with you, Edward?
I'm I downsized after losing because this web was taking 3 extra people. I'm now at 8 people, I guess. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you have people for a long time? Have they worked for you, or do you have a lot of rotation?
I have every rotation. That's a whole different. Everything hurts, always hurts. I have the person that's worked longest for me has worked for 14 years. So that's one of a steady base. And in Corona, there was a lot of movement. So I had a lot of people working for me a long time, but they decided to move to other businesses or to stop working. So that's the only one. And yeah, momentarily, I'm building a team that's more international. I have a person in the Philippines right now,
Nice.
one in South Africa. And I have an in-house designer who's from Spain. So gradually, the tone is becoming more international as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Tell me a moment that was, what they say in EO, it's cool to get vulnerable and to share your experience because those are some of your deepest things that you've experienced and to share that knowledge with others and I'm thinking about a time that was probably like they say like Night of the Living Dead kind of story, like one of those that you barely came alive out of it. It can be business wise, for example.
Yeah, it has to do with changing this tragedy, and a lot of things were moving at that point. Well, we're saying bye to this e-commerce for residential. I was very open in sharing my ideas, and I was putting the ideas on the table in the weekly meeting. And this is something I don't do anymore. I found it that if you share all of it, people get confused. Like, hey, is our leader, doesn't he have a clue where to go? Yeah, I learned to keep some of the things, not to put them on the table straight away. Maybe think of them and try to see how you can get the maximum amount of collaboration on a topic without putting it all the possibilities on the table. So this is something I learned. And one thing also is about the guilt. I still suffer a lot of guilt when I'm not in the office, because I feel, okay, it's busy. Why am I not there? And I travel quite a bit for work and for EO. That I somehow cannot get rid of this guilt feeling. That's crazy. It doesn't make sense at all, but I still have it.
That's curious, man, and it's really interesting because I have it as well, and it's been for a long time. I had a partner before I bought him in 2019, and I think one of the issues was that I was not around all the time. At one point I was a CEO for another company that I had founded as well, and I had left this one just like involved in the commercial side, but not probably like he was, working full time for it. So there were a lot of issues regarding that, and sometimes I also see that, and it's interesting. I think that one of the good things that happened in 2012, I got into EO. In 2013, I started the Entrepreneurial Masters program. That is the program with MIT.
Yeah.
I think I shared it with you, and it gave me the full focus for them is to you get out of the operation and become more the visionary of your business. So for 3 years, I had that feedback, and then I think I probably kind of like applied it to the point where I'm not in the day-to-day operations, but I do have relationship with clients. I do. I'm a strong force on the commercial side and whatnot. So it's interesting how to get that guilt out of it when you're not there because you're traveling. And
Yeah.
sometimes it happens to me also thinking about the family that I'm not, with the family, but I'm traveling or whatnot. So,
Yeah.
it's thank you for sharing it. And also, what is guilt, right? It is not expensive. It is something that takes you back. It's probably something that it should be revised, or we could revise and think of why that feeling of guilt. I think my people, I see them thriving when I'm not here, and also I feel the sense that in a way COVID brought the future faster, and now we do this more
Yeah.
often. Before we didn't have these conversations virtually as we do now. So I was able to be on travel for the summer. I visited your beautiful country, and I'll connect to some calls, and I'll be present in some
Yeah.
meetings and whatnot. And also another thing that was happening to me with the traveling, and you must have a lot of experience because you're a tremendous traveler, was that I would get a little anxious, and with age I would get a little more anxious, and I
Okay.
started exploring where that anxiousness was coming from. And I go with this kinesiologist. She's a Chilean woman who is connected to the universe. It's amazing, the energy that woman handles. Um, and she gave me a great piece of advice. She said, ask permission to the place you're going to before you go there. Like a week before, meditate. I think I'm going to go to Bahrain. I want to ask Bahrain permission, to visit their land and to go and have an enjoyable time. And it did something interesting. It moved me in a certain way, and I feel that it's lowered a little bit that anxiousness regarding to traveling.
Okay. That really resonates with me, because I have similar things, and I think it's even dangerous for me to be in the office all the time, because I see my senses get blocked. Traveling, as soon as I am in the air, literally when I'm in the air and I'm freed of all connectivity, I take up my notebook, and then it's where the plans come out. So I have 6 or 7 draft versions of a dashboard that I want to use in the weekly meetings. And I've been dreading that for years, maybe. And the last trip I took, and I believe that's where I met you in Greece. I think before landing in Athens, I had the complete, I drew the whole dashboard. And this is something I could never have done sitting myself down, hearing a phone ring for more than 7 times. Then you're distracted. Somebody walks by, and it could be a simple thing like, "Do you want a coffee or not?" I need to remove myself from time to time to connect the dots and to get some deep work done. So yes, that's something I learned to be grateful for, and not to. I think I lost a lot of the guilt part, because I'm really focusing on what it brings and what it brings brings my people, and me too. I agree that putting trust in your team and putting things in their hands and not come up with an idea straight away has brought me a lot. I can give you an instance. I have a warehouse that's a little bit too big. So when I got a note of a neighbor asking who has spare warehouse capacity, I talked to this neighbor and I decided to let him have some of my space. But the space, of course, need to be cleared and rearranged. I could have done a job where I would meticulously wrote step by step what needed to be done, but I let it go. And much to my surprise, when I came back last Monday, yesterday in the office, I went down and the whole warehouse was rearranged, because I put it in the hands of the person that was most likely to do it. Our logistics guy, he has to work there, and so he decided not to wait anymore. And by now, everybody in my team knows that they can pick up. They will never be punished for an initiative they take. So, but this is a gradual culture thing.
So, I the other day in this entrepreneurs organization that we share leadership in, I was amazed at this. I think you heard it also in Houston at the meeting that we had, on portfolio meeting. And someone said that accountability was, in a measure, loving someone, like showing someone that they're capable of, and saying, I'm going to make you accountable for this, or you have to be accountable for this. You have to be responsible for this. You're empowering them to say, okay, so I own this. So I'm going to do it in a way that, that is up to standard and is the best possible way I can do it.
Yeah.
It's going to fix that issue. So that was interesting takeaway.
Yeah. It is. If something resonates with somebody, and don't stand in the way. I think we as managers, entrepreneurs, I think I was a terrible boss not too long ago, with thinking that I knew better. And gradually over the years, I'm learning to take more distance and to wait it out, not go with overnight decisions, and make sure that the conditions are right, and then see what happens and who picks up the ball. I mean, let's say you have a task at hand and you think logically this is the person to do this task. Maybe it's a huge downer for this person, and the colleague sitting next to him, for that person it could be like a fun job to do. So putting it on the table, being clear, showing that you actually carry your weight, but then see what happens and who steps up. I think it's I think nice. It's I'm hungry to apply that even more in coming years.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about your weekly meetings. There's different types of systems that people use. Some use scaling up, some use EOS, traction. Do you have any of those, or did you come up with one yourself? And how are they normally?
So we look at a number of KPIs. And what the major thing that I've changed a couple of weeks ago is that we play devil's advocate with our current deals. So the deals at hand, we actively take a stand where we look at it and shoot arrows at it to see what could happen. Did we communicate everything clear? And it comes not from luxury. I think the world is becoming more egocentric and hard. So we have to make sure that we communicate what it is that we think that we have sold. I believe that the gap that's been there used to be much more. In my eyes, there used to be much more trust between the client and the supplier. And now everything needs to be logged, because a client might say in a conversation that he wants it 2 weeks earlier, and he thinks he has communicated very well. But if it's not logged and nobody else knows about it, then you might not apply that change. So going through it and looking from multiple sides, from financial, from logistics, from a technical point of view, is the solution that we solved really what the client needs. This is something that we are now spending way more time on. But remember, my team is don't think of it as a well-structured meeting, because my team is small.
But still managing expectations, right? That's a like a wow thing for me, and I became aware of it not long ago. That every mind is a world, and everybody can think of things differently. So try to manage expectations of, let me help you understand this. For example, the house in San Martin that you mentioned before. You manage expectations from the beginning, saying these are the limitations we have to play around with, and this is the needs that are trying to be solved, which you don't even know probably that you have. So I think that is key, because you always want to under promise and over deliver, in a sense.
Yeah. Did you feel the same way? Was there a moment in your entrepreneurial career that you made a large change because an old system didn't work anymore and you have to adopt a different point of view? Because if I look you up, I did a bit of reading, a little background search, because I needed a little bit more input besides how I know you. And your company is widely praised for its business culture. So I'm here to learn from you.
I think that is one of the things that I'm most proud of, the culture that we have in Lumen, and I have to say I didn't know about culture or the relevance of it until I went to that entrepreneurial master's program in Boston, and it completely changed my mind. And we came up with the values, and we adopted the values, and then we praise with the values, and we take care of values, and we always, when people make decisions, they go to the values and say if they run the value filter, then it's a good decision, and they're empowered by that.
Right.
Before, I think I was a little more like you were saying before, like maybe a little intolerant, kind of like a tyrant, like it's my way or the highway, or I know better. Now I probably stay silent and hear everybody talk before, and then I will talk.
It's digging your own grave, because if you're like that, everybody knocks on your door every time to take a decision. So the first step in this cultural change in the company, I started to ask, okay, there's a problem. What can I choose from, and what do you think is the best option? And I learned that 85% of the times that the solution they presented as their best was indeed the best. It's about 5% that the other suggested solution might be better because of maybe long-term or some other unseen conditions. And as an entrepreneur, that 10% of the times where you can really add value is to come up with an idea that they hadn't think of, but they learned from that. So of course I like it most when they come up with a solution that is the best and say, okay, I agree. Let me know if you need help. And the monkey is not on my shoulder anymore. But it's also fun to see if they thought of it, and you can provide a moment to learn from that moment on. Their option set, their skill set is bigger. So I make a thorough vow that everybody that works for me leaves a bigger person. I want people to grow, because as time passes, people need to grow, and that could be in different areas. But I think it's very, very important that people are on a growth mindset, and people that are not, people that are by choice are limiting their choices. I had one employee who took about 0.5% less energy and less joy to the work every week, and that over 2 or 3 years became something there was a big elephant in the room, that he was not the same employee anymore. And I had to let him go. And what happened in this guy's life? He got the guts to move somewhere in the city where he really wanted to live. So he could commute by bike, which was his love. He loves biking. So he got 2 bike rides in a day. He got a girlfriend. He landed a job that suited him better. So the life changed for the better when I cut him loose, and I could feel it at that moment. So it was a big loss for me, but sometimes you have to make people help them make a transition.
That's true. You liberate them. I think it like that now. When I have to let someone go, sometimes it is probably has to do something with the pack and 10,000 years of evolution, or I don't know how many thousands of being a part of the group, right? And letting go people is not easy. But sometimes it's what you just said, man. You liberated them to go and find a better position for themselves, maybe a little
Yeah.
uncomfortable at the beginning, but in the end, it's the best for all, and especially for the culture of the company. If you have a bad apple, you have to get rid of it
Yeah, yeah.
quickly, or a bad
Oh,
fit, just not even a bad apple, a bad fit maybe,
yeah,
and just get rid of it quickly. I have a
yeah.
question, Edward, and I know that you've grown a lot through rituals as well, and you practice sports. I know you're an open water swimmer, and that you swim currently, and you also like to do things like cold plunging. These
Yeah.
are all kind of like biohacking. What rituals do you have?
Um, I find the 2 hours in the morning when the whole world still stands still much more interesting than the 2 hours where I barely have the energy to pick up the remote. So I decided to I started going to bed earlier in order to rise at 5 o'clock. 6 hours will sleep is enough for me. So I go to bed about 10:30, fall asleep at 11, and I get up at 5, and that
6
leaves me
5
to
a.m. club, huh?
yeah. No, I was I kind of I remember looking down at somebody who was telling me about it. Say you don't need a book for that, but it is a lot of the things I do are written in there. But it's not like reading a book. Let's start of it. The cold plunges actually started not out of love for myself, but I needed to feel something. I was really in a bad place when I started that, and then when I noticed, I wanted to feel alive in the morning. I wanted to get a rush because I was getting a lot of negative energy at that time, and I changed that, and I saw what it did to my body and how much dopamine, endorphin your body produces after that. Then I decided to do it all year round, which is quite hectic. I stopped swimming with when the water is below 1 degree because I found out that it's really unpleasant and ice is not friendly to the body. So, but the rest I swim all year round. Um,
Nice.
and that basically, as a friend of mine said, okay, if you die a little in the morning, what else can the day throw at you that you cannot handle? And that's basically it.
Nice.
You have built up. I build up a level of energy and accomplishment. So when I'm at 8 a.m. in the morning, I have had an hour's worth of reading. I have prioritized my task for the day. I did a little meditation. I occasionally write down, keeping a gratitude journal, but I do about 2 entries every month. So I take it up and I write down the things, and it's like when reading it back and see, okay, you can see the evolution. And yeah, I'm very interested in this topic and this love and fear thing. And then most of the things that are really spooking me out, then when I revisited those moments by means of the journal, it was not life threatening. It was in my head. I imagined it. It was out of fear that something worse happened. And I think, if to make a bold statement, I think half of humanity go through life as zombies, not wanting certain things to live and not enjoying the day, not picking these moments that are really good. And then I check in with myself a couple of times per day to see how is this moment for you, and it's actually pretty good. Now I'm enjoying talking to my friend.
Nice.
In a little while, I'll drive home, and this is a nice commute. The roads are still not too busy. The sun is out. I can put the sunroof down. If you look out for those moments where you can enjoy and sit down and really, if you have a nice cup of tea, acknowledge this cup of tea. I'm surprised how much that incrementally builds up and gives you a better life.
I get those remind kind of like similar to you. Some things that remind me to it is when I see leaves flying in the wind. Kind of like, it even feel like a restful moment, like, oh my God, we're alive, and it's a beautiful day. How did you become out of being that zombie-like state? I mean, probably, you'd never, not always been, as aware as you are. What are things that help you, gain
Reading,
that?
reading. I read a lot of books, business books, but also yeah, self-development, self-improvement.
Have you
I don't
always
know.
been a reader?
Yeah, I was going with an EO group. We see a sort of a therapist on a monthly basis, and he gave me the
Nice.
advice to stop reading because it was too much. I was doing all this intake and not executing. So, but anyway, so that background shows that I'm interested in the topic. And then when my friend David Hensel was wearing a T-shirt said "Love, not fear," we discussed to say, hey, what does that mean for you, and what is the meaning of that? And we start having more meaningful conversation, and I desperately tried to prove him wrong that there are more shades of gray between love and fear. But basically, you can make it as simple as that you're motivated towards something or away from something. And if you find yourself in the doldrums, get out of there because nothing is happening. So when actively allocating time and energy to things that feel good, everybody benefits. Your surroundings benefit. Your kids benefit from it. Your business, your clients. You can look at physical workout as something you need to do in order not to become 200 kilos. But if you start looking at it from a different point of view, if you start focusing on what it brings you, then the effort is completely changed. So I'm a man of many rituals. I like to do things at a certain time and place, and it seems effortless for me. But I was on a 2-week holiday. I gained about 3 kilos because I lost my routine. I know I'll snap back because when I'm back home, and it's a certain time in a certain place, I'll be able to pick up those routines, and I do, and this is for me. This has been a foundation where I'm now building other things on. So this love, not fear. I'm not a natural speaker. Public speaker, and I decided, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen if you address a classroom of students in Cape Town? So I got an invite to do a lecture on love, not fear in Cape Town, and there was this big room, 110 students there, and they were thinking, oh, hey, here's an entrepreneurial talk about a seasoned entrepreneur. I gave him nothing of that, and I showed very vulnerability in the lessons I learned. And by putting myself out there, of course, there were maybe 30 people that walked out of the room straight away, but a lot of them came forward and asked for this little sticker and asking me questions. And I said, hey, this is cool. So now I decided, what's the worst thing that can happen? Put yourself out there. If you
that.
don't do the effort, nothing is going to come from that. So be bold, be more intentional. So and I'm applying that to more and more rules in a steady pace because I don't want to rush over it and become somebody that I'm not. But giving compliments or pick up the phone with somebody that you appreciate but are out of touch with. I do these things more and more now. So being more deliberate.
How long have you been in the path of leadership in EO?
I'm an 8-year member and I'm a 7-year leader in EO. So
nice.
Yeah, that's straight away.
Straight away.
Yes.
What has been your biggest takeaway out of the path of leadership?
I think, being a leader of leaders is very, it's very challenging. So it teaches me a lot about intrinsical motivation, and the other thing is, we are all paid the same amount, which is nothing. So it's all free time. You have to respect that, and so to see multiple angles and not to have your judgment ready too soon. I think this has brought me the most, and I think the first time I felt the true power of being in a room full of entrepreneurs from all over the world was when I was in a global leadership conference, and I would make myself sit not with the Dutch board every time, but sit at a random table and having conversations. And I felt like a Lego block that could connect to any of the Lego blocks in the room. You could pick up, engage in conversation, and there would be interesting topics that could connect. And so this was like, okay, wow, the international aspect was truly the thing for me. And then, I decided to go all in, and I've never stepped out of that path. And currently focusing on the European region, which is very diverse, which is very challenging with 2 wars in our zone. A couple of small chapters. We have a lot of languages, so never a dull moment.
Nice. I love the thing about love, not fear. It speaks very broadly, but it is true. Like, we comfortably stay in our comfort zone, right? And everybody knows that magic happens out of the comfort zone. So what is that comfort zone? How can we expand it? The other day I was reading about this climber, Alex Honnold, and people judge him because he climbs without a rope and whatnot. And he was asking, well, when was the last time you did something that you had fear about doing? When was the last time that you pursued something that was difficult and that you challenged yourself to it? So that is very powerful. We all have the set similar hours in this world, the similar possibilities. People living around 75, 80 years of age. How are you going to be that person who is not in a zombie mind state and who really didn't live at all? How can you go to the end of those days and say, I lived a great life. I learned a lot. I shared a lot. I had great experiences and whatnot. So I think that has a lot to do with what you're saying. Like, fear can be good. If a lion comes at you, you better start running, and fear is going to help you do that. But there are imaginative fears. I shared with you in Greece about this book I had read that is called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it talks about that. It talks about, recognize fears, the real fears from the imaginative fears, because 99% of the things we fear never really happen. So if you could recommend one book, I know that books depend on the time and place you are at in your life and whatnot, and a book is not the same as the next book, or if you read it twice, it's a different book altogether. But if you could recommend one book, that really moved you or touched you at some point in life.
Well, my earliest memory of a book of this type was book by Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence People. I still hate the title, but it's extremely good book, especially when you're a student. To me, it felt like I had read something that I wasn't supposed to read. It felt like, okay, man, I just found this book. It literally tells about, it tells a little about influencing me, also a bit of manipulation. It's sometimes a bit on the shady side. There are many books that have changed my perspective.
That book, I think everybody should read at least once. It's like a instruction manual on how to have, mostly good relationships. A big takeaway from that book was sometimes you want to, the answer and everybody's arguing, and this guy says, what do you prefer? Do you prefer to have friends or to have, the right answer? And it puts it in perspective. I love that book, and I highly recommend it. I've given a lot of those, and it's been something on the later side that you have read in the past 5 years.
One of the later side, and one of is also an EOer, by the way, who I met, who wrote a book called Unicorns Over Rainbows. And he tells about an entrepreneurial journey where he changed the culture in such a spectacular way that a completely new company arose. So I think a lot of your followers might benefit from that book. And his plans were so unlikely that one of the co-workers said, "Yeah, if this is going to happen, that will be the day that we see unicorns jumping over rainbows." And it's written very well. It's very funny because he said occasionally I get from Amazon, I get 9-year-old girls that think they ordered a nice book, and the book is not about unicorns or rainbows. But I can recommend it. We'll put the title in the show notes. I'll tell you the complete title.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's a good book. So another book that that really put me more on the track of Love Not Fear was a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. it was not released far after his death. It's very controversial. It's a discussion about a man talking to devil to learn about how the devil works, putting fear in people and manipulating them. And because of this open discussion with the devil, you can learn so much from looking at the devil's advocate point of view, so flipping it around. So there was another book that I
Very
was a
good
game
book.
changer.
I love that one.
Yeah.
So, what is success for you?
Ha! Out of the blue. Success is good one. I wish I had a one-liner that would add it all. Success is moving freely into this world, leaving it a bit better place than you found it, inspiring people, and getting to cooperate with people, and especially friends and loved ones. Most important.
Interesting. I like that, getting to cooperate. I probably haven't heard that one before. And it speaks a lot because it speaks a lot about connection. It speaks about having a goal in mind. It speaks about, raising or lifting where one stands. I like that definition. How are you working on that success?
Well, first of all, my company is now a B Corp. It was a long journey. I don't want to spend too much time on the journey, but for me, it feels very natural to
Share us what a B
pay.
Corp is, please.
You don't know what B Corp? B Corp is
I think I
business as a,
do,
yeah. Okay.
but I
So
don't know if the audience.
a B Corp is I think it started in the US. It's a system where you can evaluate your company, and when you think you have gained enough points that you can prove how you looked at your business, your people, the choices that you make, the influence you have in the market, then you can apply for an assessment. And if you have 80 out of 200 points, which is not easy, then you will be awarded B Corp. And for me, it meant looking at my business a completely different way. So I started that quite early after. Okay, if we're not in the business of pushing as many boxes to out of the door as possible. I think the tone or the way we talk to clients is going to change in the end, and it's going to. So working on a better world, on a more sustainable world, is the only way people are going to listen to you, because in the end we all sell the same stuff. So it's not about what you sell, but how you sell it and what choices you make, and to inspire with that. So that became a choice. And yeah, from a personal point of view, I found a way to combine my hobby, which is open fire cooking, barbecuing basically, to combine it with a cause where we raise some funds for research for children's cancer. So we do together with two friends. I do 5 to 7 gigs per year, where we sell our barbecue parties, and raise some money for that. We got some
Nice.
sponsors, so it's a way to challenge myself and those skills, to have a fun night out. Takes a lot of energy, by the way, and to
I
do to
bet.
give back a little bit. But it doesn't feel like giving. It feels it's a challenge, and more. It's fun to meet new people. Yeah.
That's cool. Tell me a little bit about a cool thing that happens in your company. If you work there, then you get this cool perk, or something that is a differentiator from working in other companies.
I think my people in my company get extremely amount of self-regulation. So I'm not a control freak. So this is I encourage them to take initiative and think of crazy things. And yeah, boy, as a company, what are we cool at? Oh,
So people kind of like, going back to that touch point. It's they auto boss themselves, so they're responsible, and they don't have someone on top of them. So that's a very good on culture.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's why the team needs to be had to become smaller and rebuilt in a different way that suits our ambition in that way. But I'm still surprised at how many times it is needed to tell the touch points, what your company stands for, the values, company values, the mission, vision, strategy. There's not a number of times that it's too many. It's often too
The
little.
leader becomes an evangelizer.
Yeah, but yeah.
What has been your greatest takeaway from being a podcaster?
Meeting amazing people. So we do guest interview, and the takeaway is also during the week I chew on a topic, and I take that topic to the podcast. So for me, it's like an exploration, and the podcasts themselves are little touch points in between in this journey. So I feel like it's a journey where I get to explore a topic. So we literally don't care how many people are listening. We don't make it for the people. We do it for ourselves. We have a conversation that we think it's meaningful, and it's exploring a topic from a different point of view. And we like to use things from what we call the story bank. Yeah. So another thing is it's also practicing what you preach. So don't be afraid of it. Just do it. And you can only tell if you're good at it if you've done 100. And the secret agenda, I can let you in on a little secret. The agenda I had from day one is I wouldn't mind writing a book about what I learned as a human being on this earth, being an entrepreneur, having met these amazing people. So, and writing a book is very daunting, right? I mean, writing a book. So I said, okay, how about we do a number of podcasts, and in the end, let's see if we can distill a book out of that. If it's any worthiness in that, if it's good enough. So it's also a way of writing a book over a period of 3 years, and then see what is it that we got, and what is the main road in this book, and where do I want to explore even more.
I love that. I love that. I just saw. Have you heard about this podcast, The Knowledge Project?
No.
Oh, it is a fantastic podcast. I think you're gonna benefit a lot from it. It is you're gonna love it. He did that. He started writing his book after the podcast. So I think you're a good line from that. What is the best concert you've ever gone to?
Funny story, easy one too. I was 14 years old. No, what was it? I think I was 15, and I visited a friend I met during a summer camp in Finland. And the guy lived in London, Ontario, London in Canada. And he took me to a concert in Toronto by a band that I had never heard of. So we went to big stadium, a stadium that's way bigger than small country boy, than I've been to. And there was this band called Guns N' Roses. I never heard of them.
It was your first time? Wow.
It was the first time. And I think that was long ago, but they were already amazing. And yeah, that concert made deep impact. And another fun concert was during North Sea Jazz when Diana Krall. I don't know if you've heard of Diana Krall.
No,
she's a jazz singer. She was playing on the stage, and it was really hot. So we were hanging out of the balcony during the break, and Diana Krall comes off stage to stand with us to also enjoy a little bit of the coolness. So that was cool to be with the star appearing in the concert,
wow,
sitting next to you and bumming a cigarette of us. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
How about a movie that impacted you that you can share?
I also go back to childhood memories. I thought Back to the Future. I thought it was huge fun, because that was in a really, really cool. Yeah, I thought it was fun, and also now again, we living now in an age far beyond the latest date in all of those movies, and anything that was portrayed there as impossible as the future, we already did. We are able to do basically anything that's in that movie, so that's nice.
Wow. Revisiting on that one, I'm gonna go see it again.
Yeah, that was fun. Ferris Bueller's Night Off, Day Off. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was cool. And in later years, I don't know. Nothing. There's a movie that
those
I saw
are great.
I called
Yeah.
it the blechtrommel, the tin can. It was about the World War II through the eyes of a young German boy, and I saw it when I was quite young myself, and that made a deep impact. Yeah.
Wow, those are great. So one last question. If you were to talk to Edward, 18-year-old, probably just going to college, and you could give him, maybe a word of advice, maybe a sentence, or something that might help the road that he is going to travel, what would that be?
I think I could have gone where I am right now with much more ease. And I think what the most prominent advice I would give a younger version of me is to don't stop at dreaming, just reach out to people. Even if you get 9 no's, maybe at a young age you get a yes by somebody who's bringing you a whole different set of choices on the table. So I think I was quite ambitious as I was, I guess. In hindsight, I wish I would have been pursuing more dreams and not taking no for an answer that cannot be done. I mean, what cannot be done? Everybody, if you're sincere, anybody with the true intentions, you will embrace. So that goes also for young entrepreneurs. Go ring that entrepreneur that thinks it can take you to the next level, or yeah, put yourself out there. Take speaking classes. Make yourself heard. Explore. Make mistakes. Making mistakes. Why are people so afraid of making mistakes?
I love it. Well, thank you very much, my friend. It's been a great conversation. I know it's a little longer than you normally do, but I appreciate the time, and I think we have a great content. And I love that you guys are doing the podcast. Congratulations on that. Very happy to have you here, and I think it's not going to be the last. I think I might invite you more because you have a lot of stories and a lot of insights to share, and I would like to have you back.
I will be glad to. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. Although preparing for the podcast, I was like, your podcasts are mostly in Spanish, so it was quite a surprise where this was going to go. But yeah, it's also I decided not to worry about that and just wing it. So
What's
thank
a
you.
takeaway that you take away from the podcast today?
I think you ask some questions that are quite profound, and I think by talking about the choices I have made and want to make in life, made these choices more touchable and alive. So I think it's reigniting passion and intrinsic fire within me just by talking and sharing about this.
That's a great takeaway.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, my friend. It's a beauty to have you. Thank you all, listeners. Remember, go follow us in Spotify, in YouTube. If you give it a thumbs up, that'll be great. It'll help us reach out more people like you who love to learn, who love to grow, who love to, be purposeful of the time that you're living on this earth. So thank you very much, my dear Edward. And until I see you again, hopefully soon, my friend.